hating on you with their friends, girl, you got it.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, and today I have a soft girl look for y'all, or what I consider to be soft girl look. I'm going to start off by taking my e.l.f. brow lift, and I'm going to brush it across the brows in the opposite way, and then I'm going to brush them into place. That is actually how you use this product. You have to like mess your eyebrows up and then brush them into place. And then after I brush them into place, I just pat them down and get going with my eyeshadow look. For every time I put the concealer on her face, it's going to be the color Chestnut from Too Faced and 165 from Milani. That's what I just showed you. So in the front of her eyebrow, we're going to use Chestnut, and I'm just going to outline where I would normally conceal her brows if they were already filled in. And then I'm going to shade in the extra space on her lid so I can use that concealer as eyeshadow base later on. Now I'm going to use the Milani concealer in 165, and I'm just going to conceal the tail part of her eyebrow and fill that in as well. Taking this brush I got from Shein, y'all know how I love the Real Technique dupes. That's exactly what this is. One day I'm going to do a video on the brushes I use, and I'll make sure to put the links in it for y'all. But I'm just going to tap out the front part of the concealer, the Chestnut first. Then I'm going to tap to blend out that Milani concealer. I always blend out the darker concealer first and then the lighter concealer, so that way it's not too much of the lighter concealer on the lid. When everything is completely blended out, I just set it with some one size powder, so that way as she opens her eyes while I do her makeup, I don't have to worry about too much creasing on her lid. For skin prep, I'm going to start with my Embryolisse moisturizer. I'm just going to apply this all over her face and rub it in with my hands to get the blood flowing. The best way to get glowy skin is to use your hands and get the blood circulating in your client's face and in your face, so that way you can get that nice glow underneath your makeup. When I do moisturizer and primer, I always make sure I get in between the creases of the nose, and I always have my clients look up so that way I can get all the product underneath her eyes. I always get questions about how I prevent creasing. So how I prevent creasing is to make sure I put the product in my skin prep underneath her eyes where I'm going to put concealer. We put so much product underneath the eyes, you need to make sure your base is flawless so that way you don't have any creasing under the eyes. Then I'm going to apply this Too Faced Hangover Primer, and I'm just going to put it in the same places I put the moisturizer, and I'm going to make sure, again, I get in the creases of the nose and underneath the eyes. Very, very important. Please don't miss those steps. I'm telling you. I'm going to finish off her skin prep with some Mario Badescu spray, and I'm going to spray this on her face and pat this in as well, just to make sure it's all soaked into her skin. Now lately I've been switching up my makeup routine. It just gets really bored doing the same routine on every single client. So I'm going to start off with concealer today, and this is the Chestnut. Remember I told you we're going to use this concealer all over her face. I'm going to just place this underneath her eyes where I would normally place my concealer. I'm going to also put this on her chin and her nose, and I'm going to put this in between her eyebrows, but I'm not going to blend it out. I'm going to let the product on the forehead sit for a little while so it can build some extra coverage. Then I'm going to take another Real Techniques dupe, and I'm going to just pat out the edges of that product, leaving mostly the inside of the product there to build some coverage. But I just want to blend out the outside because that Milani concealer dries down so quickly, and it is so hard to blend it out after it dries down. So I just go ahead and blend out the edges so that way I won't have to worry about it later on. And I make sure I don't blend this product down underneath where I would put her contour. After you successfully blend out the edges of the concealer, just apply your foundation. Today we're going to use Maybelline in the color 360. This is a 30-hour wear one, the one with the white top, and I'm just going to place it on her cheeks and then blend it out. I still like to do my foundation in sections, so we're just going to do a section at a time and then pat to blend out that foundation with that Real Technique Dew brush. Y'all know, blend that foundation underneath that chin, blend that foundation in the back of the ear. Make sure you cannot see the start and stopping of your foundation. That's like a pet peeve of me. I hate to point out somebody's makeup on their face. After I finish blending out the foundation on the cheeks, I'm just going to take the foundation and I'm going to go around the edges of the concealer I put on the forehead, and I'm going to add a little bit above the eyebrows, and then I'm going to go through and just place the contour on her face where I would want it, and then go back through and blend it out, still leaving her forehead. I don't blend it out to the end. Yeah, I'm using so many brushes for this tutorial. So I take a different brush. This is another Real Technique Dew brush, but it's sort of like an angled one, and it's great for blending out contours. So I'm just going to tap and blend up those contours. I make sure I blend up closer to her eyebrows so that way the contour gives like a lifted look and not just like a straight contour where her cheeks are. When the cheek contour is blended out, that's when I move on to the forehead, and I just blend in like the contour and the foundation and that concealer together, starting with the contour, and then I go towards the inside, and I take that foundation brush and go through and like blend it out a little bit, just in case it's not blended out all the way, which this wasn't. I just like to go back and forth between brushes. And here we go again, another Real Technique Dew brush. This is a smaller brush that came in a set from Shein, and I just like to use this to contour the nose and blend it out because it's kind of like straight and fluffy at the same time. And when it comes to a nose, baby, one thing about me, I'm gonna snatch it up. I'm gonna snatch it right up. So you just keep tapping until that line on the nose gets smaller and smaller until it gets like the shape you want it, and then you can stop blending out. Next, I'm going to apply a highlighting concealer. If I'm correct, this is actually Butterscotch from Too Faced. It's not the 165 from Milani. And I'm just going to place this down while I blend out her blush, so that way it has enough time to build up some coverage. I'm going to use this blush stick I got from Mocha Makes. And I'm going to take that same brush that I used for her contour, and I'm just going to tap this blush into her contour and her highlighting color. And I'm just going to tap this right underneath her eyes. And since she has some lash clusters on, I have her look up so that way I don't get any product on her lashes. If I could only explain to y'all how multifunctional a powder puff actually is, you can use this for anything. So I'm going to use this just to blend out the concealer underneath her eyes. I use this especially for my girls who have watery eyes because a brush can just irritate the eyes underneath it way too much, and their eyes just automatically started watering. So as soon as I see somebody's eyes start watering, I pull out my powder puff and I get to working. This also is really good for getting in the corner underneath the eyes. It blends out really good, and it doesn't even keep a lot of product on the powder puff when you get done. After I blended out all the way, I took my Huda Beauty powder, and this is the powder I'm going to use to set all of her concealed areas. So I'm going to use this powder, and I'm going to set underneath her eyes, and I'm going to bake on her nose and her forehead and her chin as well. I've got a lot of people say that this product is really cakey when they use it, or it's just really thick. I don't really use too much of this product to set underneath the eyes. I really use a lot of translucent powder to bake, but with this product, you have to be very light. So when I get the product, I dab it off on a paper towel, so that way I can make sure I don't have too much product on my powder puff. When I have this powder and I'm setting the forehead, I go over the front part of the eyebrows so that way it can make the eyebrows look a little more natural when I go fill them in. I take this palette, and this is like the most diverse palette ever. You can use this on everybody's face. But I take one of the colors and I'm going to use this to contour her nose. This is the same brush I'm going to use for her eyeshadow later on. When I contour the nose, I do the same thing as I do with the cream contour. I just keep blending it until that the baking powder gets smaller and smaller and smaller, so you can tell how small the bridge of the nose is going to be by how less of the powder you have on the nose, if that makes sense. To bake today, we're going to use the One Size powder. And how do y'all feel about the One Size? Because how people feel about Huda is how I feel about One Size. One Size has just been leaving my clients looking like extra cakey. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm used to using my Dermablend, and it is in the mail coming to me right now. And I can't wait to get it because I do not like this One Size powder. I can't get with it. So I'm just going to go through and contour her face with that same shade I used to contour her nose. I'm going to start off with her forehead, and then I'm going to go through and contour her cheeks. And I'm going to do both cheeks, of course. I start off with a contour, and then I move on to a bronzer, and then I move on to my blush. So I use 3 different products on the cheeks most of the time. This is what I use for some extra shading with the contour. I know this is bronzer palette, but y'all, these are not really bronzers. These are really contour. Bronzers have like a glowy effect to them, and these are very neutral toned. But I definitely felt like she needs some more shadow, so this is what I used. And then in between, I think I used my Morphe R8 palette, and I used that as her bronzer. For her blush today, this is a palette that I have been falling in love with. It's so pretty. Look at it. This is from the Ariel K Experience line. She sent me this blush, and I've been using it on every single client since. I can't help it. So I'm going to use like the reddish orange color, and then on top of it, I'm just going to use a little bit of the bright pink. And I make sure in between the colors, I dab off some of the blush so that way it's not so much, because this palette is really pigmented and you can end up looking crazy real quick. To get that lifted look with blush, have your clients look up to the ceiling so that where their lashes don't get in the way, the eye don't get in the way. You can see everything if you have them look up. Afterwards, I took some Anastasia powder and a little bit of that One Size powder again, and I just contour, what the heck? I reverse contoured her face, baking underneath her contour. There you go. I didn't want to use just the Anastasia because it's a little bit too golden for her skin, so I wanted to mix the translucent powder, but then I don't like this translucent powder, so it just had me in a buckle. For this look, I always use 2 eyeshadows, so this is going to be like my transition shade. This is a Urban Decay like eyeshadow pot. I've had it for so long, I don't even know what the name is, but I take it from the front part where I contoured her nose, and I just take that in her crease and take it over to the corner of her eye. With this shadow, you have to build up to the color that you want. So I'm just building up this shadow till I get the pigment I want. And then I'm going to move on to a darker brown just to add some contour on her lid. For her lid, I usually use my Morphe R8 palette for this, but I wanted to take this Coffee Shop palette and use the darkest shade, and I'm just going to tap over her eyelid up until that color that we use for the crease. I'm not going to go too far up because I don't want her whole eye to be dark, but I just keep this mostly on the center part of her lid, and y'all can see me tap the color on and tap again to blend out. This is exactly how I do all of my neutral, plain, soft glam eyeshadow looks. I start close to the line, close to the lash line, and then I blend out from there, so that way most of the color and the pigment is right in the middle of the eye. After I get the pigment I want, I just go through with that first eyeshadow and just blend out the edges so I can make sure there is no line of demarcation and it is perfectly smooth. I'm going to take this Inglot gel liner and an eyebrow brush. This is one of those small angle eyebrow brushes. This is actually from Real Technique, not a dupe. And I'm just going to line her lid close to her eyelashes, and then I'm going to blend that out with some black eyeshadow from my Juvia's Place palette on a different brush. I know that color in the waterline has got me in a chokehold. It's got me in a chokehold. So today we're going to use the NYX White And I'm going to put this in her waterline. I love using this because it's just like a smaller milk pencil. And y'all know the milk pencil is really smooth. NYX liners are just the same. After that, I'm going to take a brown from the Coffee Shop palette. And this is another Real Technique nude brush. Yes, I know y'all tired of me saying it. And I'm just going to use this and I tap on the brown and then I sort of like go side to side to smoke it out. Now, while putting a shadow underneath the white liner, it can go away some, and I like that white liner to really pop. So I go through and add another layer of white liner so that way it can add some extra pop underneath the eyeshadow. Then I'm going to take my Better Than Sex mascara and I'm just going to go side to side and apply this mascara to her bottom lashes. I always put mascara on bottom lashes even though it makes me super nervous every time. I'll be definitely scared to mess up, but I'm going to do it every time. Mama did not raise no hope. Now, I don't do this every time, but I'm going to clean off the lips so that way I can see the clean outline of her lips where I'm going to line it. And I'm going to take this liner from the Ariel K Experience. I love this brown liner. It looks so pretty on every skin tone. And I'm going to line the outside of her lips, the left side and then the right side. Y'all know I overline. And then I have my client and my model press their lips together so that way on that bottom lip, I can really see the outline of that bottom lip and I won't mess up if I have them press their lips together. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in a few minutes. After I got done outlining the lip, I just realized that I had overlined it a little bit too much. So I went in with my concealer brush with no extra product on there. And I just went and corrected where I overlined her lips a little too much. And this is exactly what I was talking about when I told you I had my clients press their lips together. I asked them to press their lips together and then have them keep it that whole time I'm lining their bottom lip so that way I can see the outline. After I get the perfect line that I want, I have them untuck their lips and I just fill in with the liner a little bit. I also fill in the corners so that way I can blend it out and get that ombre effect later on. For lipstick, we're going to use this Crown lipstick. And I'm so mad they discontinued this lipstick because this is probably my favorite nude of all time. But I'm just going to take this and apply this on the center of the bottom lip. And I'm going to have her tap her lips together so that way it can naturally place it on the top lip for me. And I won't have to do too much blending. For lip gloss, I'm going to take this clear lip gloss and then I'm going to take this lip gloss from the Ariel K Experience and I'm going to use this clear lip gloss just to line the outside and then I'm going to use the nude lip gloss for the inside. Y'all know before I apply my gloss, I have to do some extra blending to the lipstick and the lip liner. I just gotta do it. That blend is just too perfect as y'all can see. I just do a little extra blending with my disposable lip brush so that way the gloss is perfect. And then I go through and I apply the clear lip gloss over the lip liner, y'all. I just put this over where I put that brown lip liner and a little bit on the corner of the lip. And then I'm gonna take that nude lip gloss, of course, put it in the middle of the bottom lip and have her tap her lips together again. Y'all know tap a tap tap. That's my thing. Y'all know Peter Louise got pat pat pat. Shanti Slade's got tap tap tap. Y'all, I've been waiting to say that for so long. I think of that every time I be tapping on somebody's face and on their lips. I be like tap a tap tap. Now that I'm almost done with the look, I'm just going to go ahead and take this tape off of her hair. And this is the lash tape they use. I recently started using this instead of regular tape. Then I'm going to take this taper brush. This is the same brush I used to set her eyelids, so I haven't used it since then. And I'm just going to dust off all the powder on her face. And I decided to do brows last, so I'm going to take this Anastasia brow pomade and a brush I got off Shein. This is one of the flattest eyebrow brushes I have ever used. I love it. I'm going to go order all the sets of this brush just so I can get this one brush. And y'all know usually I don't do brows last, so I'm just taking my time and just making sure I have a precise shape on her brows that I can copy to the other one. I finished filling in the eyebrows, I'm just going to take the spoolie part of that same brush and I'm just going to brush through the front part of her eyebrows to blend it out. Of course, I'm going to have her look up and take that taper brush and I'm just going to pat that powder into her skin. I don't necessarily wipe it off. I kind of swipe and pat at the same time, just like pressing it in and swiping away at the same time. If that makes sense, y'all. If that's making sense, if y'all catching what I'm throwing down. Since I took the tape off, there's no product underneath there, so I take the same brush I used to place the contour on her face, because basically where you take the tape off is where the contour is anyway. So I just take that brush to blend out those spaces and make sure there's no line of demarcation from where the tape was. Afterwards, I just go through and browse her face a little bit more. I think I used Mocha Mami this time just because I wanted a little bit more of like a reddish orange bronze. Next, I'm going to set her face with my Morphe spray. I'm going to spray this a little bit far away from her face, and then I'm going to take a clean powder puff, and I just wiped it off. And I'm going to pat in that powder and that setting spray into her face before I go through and do the highlighter. I do the highlighter on the tip and the bridge of the nose and in between the eyebrows. I know I don't do too much with highlighter. I actually put some on her eyebrows today, just underneath, to give it a little something to the look. Then you always want to go through and do your finishing touches. So I just make sure that the eyebrows and the nose contour are completely blended out, and just little things like that so you can make sure your look comes together. After I do my finishing touches, I spray the face one more time with both of my setting sprays, and then I pat it in. And that's how I got this look, a little bit of soft girl era for y'all. So I hope y'all like this tutorial. I hope y'all like, comment, and subscribe. See y'all later.